Hey, thanks again for joining us here on 9 News Plus. I'm 9 News meteorologist Chris Bianchi with another look at that Colorado weather forecast. Big changes been talking about all day long for tomorrow night and into your Thursday. In the meantime, it's beautiful out there. Temperatures in the upper 70s, low 80s here on the eastern plains. Light winds, lots of sunshine. It is very, very nice out there for now. That'll change a bit for tomorrow. In the meantime, as mentioned, there it is, that sunshine. A few more clouds today compared to yesterday. That's thanks to a little intrusion of some mid to high level moisture that is moving its way across the state. No matter, that's not really disrupting things, is it? Very nice day out there. And look up into the high country. It is looking nice up there at Rocky Mountain National Park. I'll say this is going to look very different in about 2 days' time when we get a fair bit of snow that'll move its way through this part of the state. Central and northern parts of the Colorado Mountains are going to get a fairly decent little snow event coming up again in the next 48 to 72 hours. Meantime, for today, highs around 80 degrees and lots of sunshine overhead. And those overall headlines, one more warm day today. We'll say tomorrow should be mild as well, probably warmer than average temperatures still, but we start to cool down tomorrow night, and then Wednesday and Thursday looking pretty unsettled. Wednesday night, tomorrow night, first in the mountains, and then I think here along the Front Range, Denver area, it looks like Thursday and Thursday morning in particular looking pretty soggy out that way. Right now, 79 degrees for us in Denver. It is, again, just blissful weather at this point. 70s, 80s, eastern plains, 50s, 60s into the high country right now. Into the mountains, though, we do have that little bit of mid to high level moisture that's moving its way on through. That means we're talking about some rain, some light showers, some very light high elevation snows. We actually did have a little burst of thunder snow out near Telluride earlier on. That has since mostly dissipated, but still looking at some rain and snow showers moving their way through the mountains at this point and along I-70. Seeing some of that rain and snow at this hour as well. But the main event, this is it. This is, again, just a separate little surge of mid to high level moisture. The main event and what's going to lead to those big changes, this is what we're looking at out here across the Pacific Northwest. A lot of rain and snow moving its way through Washington, Oregon, and Idaho, and that system set to drop its way through Colorado tomorrow night. For tonight, though, it's clear, it's cool. Temperatures drop back in the low 40s. Very comfortable weather out there for tonight. Temps drop back in the 40s, 50s, eastern plains, 30s, and 40s into the high country. For tomorrow, rain and snow for us. No, I should say rain for us here along the Front Range very, very late tomorrow night. Snow will be into the mountains for tomorrow, and again, especially tomorrow night, but I think maybe even during the day tomorrow, those first snow showers drop their way through the parks and the elk heads and the flat tops. So I'll walk you through this here in just a second, but overall tomorrow, clouds will increase through the day, probably some sunshine as you wake up tomorrow morning. And notice at the bottom left-hand side of your screen as well, those winds will pick up as we head through the day. That is thanks to that approaching trough. So tomorrow, we'll start off on a bit of a breezy, clear note, but those clouds build up, and then we'll see that rain develop after dark tomorrow along the Front Range into the mountains. Rain to snow tomorrow afternoon and then tomorrow night. So for tomorrow, highs 70s, 80s, eastern plains. We do have a fire weather watch in southeast Colorado for tomorrow afternoon and tomorrow night, and that is thanks to some gusty winds and some warm temperatures and a dry air mass. Much cooler in the mountains as that storm system reaches the mountains first. So there's that storm system. Accompanying cold front will bring us much cooler temperatures for our Thursday in particular, first in the mountains and then into the Front Range and eastern parts of the state. So walking you through the timeline here. Cold front, rain and snow arrives in the mountains around 3-4 o'clock or so tomorrow afternoon, and that snow will develop for us here in the high country first above 10,000 feet in elevation. But watch what happens as we head through tomorrow night. Watch that blue, those pinks increase across the mountains. We get a secondary surge of colder air that drops through tomorrow night and into Thursday morning, and that will change over that rain to snow in, say, 6,000 to 7,000 feet in elevations of places like Steamboat Springs and town there. Again, some of those lower elevations in the mountains. So maybe talking about the Fraser and Yampa River valleys, that's where we'd be starting maybe as some rain, and then we'll flip over to snow as we draw on some colder air. Another thing with that snow tomorrow night is it will be accompanied by some pretty strong winds. Could be talking about winds 30, 40 plus mile an hour gusts for us tomorrow night. So if you're traveling Berthoud, Rabbit Ears Pass, it will be tricky tomorrow night because of that snow and that wind, which will make visibility on the lower side. For us here in the Denver area, that rain develops late tomorrow night, but it's mainly Thursday, and I think Thursday morning where we see the majority of our rainfall and maybe a few leftover showers for Friday morning, and then things clear on out. Rainfall amounts for us as we head over the next few days. Denver area, we're right on the cusp with some of those higher precip numbers. I think the better chance for seeing a half inch or more of rain will be in Larimer and Weld counties, as well as generally speaking, as you head north of Denver and I-70. Some spots, though, along the I-70 corridor could get a good half inch, maybe a bit more than that of rainfall. Snowfall amounts heaviest along north of I-70. That's where we're looking at a 4 to 8 inch snowfall event above 10,000 feet north of I-70. So Rocky Mountain National Park, the parks, the Elkheads, that's where in a few spots we could see some double-digit snowfall totals. Wouldn't be surprised if we end up with some of those in some of those highest elevations. And then, of course, the age-old question, will we see any snow here in Denver? Very unlikely, but maybe the foothills. And the foothills end up with a few flakes for the overnight time frame from Thursday into Friday. So Thursday night, Friday morning, could see a few wet snowflakes into the foothills above 6,000 feet in elevation. Also a chance for some of those, it's not shown up here, but a chance for some of those to get into far northern Colorado as well. Just a bit more cold air and a bit more moisture up into northern Weld and Larimer County. So I wouldn't be surprised, say Fort Collins, Greeley, see some very brief flakes at the end of all this late Thursday night and Friday morning. It will not accumulate, though, in the lowest elevations, including the Denver-Fort Collins urban corridor. 7-day forecast, it's very cool for Thursday and Friday. And notice those low temperatures. That's going to be the key here, folks. Those lows drop down at or below freezing for probably both Friday and Saturday morning. That'll likely mean our first freeze of the season. So try to get that winterizing done ASAP this week. Get those sprinklers blown out, even though I know sprinklers, they're usually all right. If you drop down to, say, 30 for an hour or two, you're probably all right. But still a good idea to get those blown out. And also, there's a reasonable chance that some parts of the metro area drop down into the upper 20s. So we're talking about a hard freeze. I wouldn't be surprised if a couple areas here in the metro do see a hard freeze. And when you're getting into hard freeze territory, that's when we're talking about the potential for some limited impacts to those sprinklers. So again, good idea to get those sprinklers blown out this week if you can. And our average first freeze is on October the 7th. We'll likely get it on Friday or Saturday, which means it'll be October the 13th or October the 14th, so about a week later than the long-term average. So top line takeaways, warm today, and then as we get into tomorrow and especially Thursday, some big changes. Stays cool for Friday, and then we warm back up and dry things out for the weekend and to the early part of next week. Once again, I'm 9 News meteorologist Chris Bianchi. We'll have another update for you coming up at 9 News at 4 and 5 p.m. with Chief Meteorologist Kathy Sabins right behind that TV screen, getting ready over there. And then we'll have there's a look at Kathy, of course, getting ready for the 4 and the 5. Then we'll have meteorologist Danielle Grant in for the 6, 9, and 10 tonight on the 9 News Family of Networks. Once again, I'm 9 News meteorologist Chris Bianchi. Thanks for joining us here on 9 News Plus. Have a great rest of your Tuesday.